Welcome to Lead with Clarity. This is a space for leaders who want to grow without losing themselves in the process. Each episode is a short reflection on leadership, influence, and the inner work that shapes how we show up for others. It's not hype, not noise, just clear thinking for the journey of leading well. Today's episode is entitled Innovation Has No Loyalty: What Satya Nadella's Challenge Means for Leaders Today. Here we go. There's a word that shows up in almost every boardroom conversations that I've been part of lately. Innovation. Everyone says it. Very few leaders actually build the conditions for it. And even fewer are willing to confront what stands in its way. What stands in its way is almost always the same thing. What worked before. Satya Nadella said it plainly. Our industry does not respect tradition. It only respects innovation. Now, Nadella said this while running one of the most iconic technology companies on the planet, a company that had to rebuild its own culture to survive. That context matters. This was not a theory. This was a lesson learned at scale. Think about the leaders you admire most, the ones who built something that lasted. In almost every case, they had a moment where they had to choose between protecting what worked and risking what could work. And the ones who chose protection, more often than not, eventually lost both. I've watched this happen inside organizations as well. A leader builds something strong. The strategy works. The team delivers. The numbers look good. And then the market shifts. Not dramatically, quietly. And the very habits that built the business become the habits that slow it down. The sacred process. The proven model. The formula no one is allowed to touch. Those are not assets. Over time, they become anchors. Here's where a lot of people misread this quote. They hear tradition doesn't matter and they go in the wrong direction. They start chasing novelty. They rebrand. They restructure. They launch initiatives. They confuse motion with innovation. That is not what Nadella was saying. Tradition has value. History has lessons. What he was pointing to is the danger of allowing tradition to become a substitute for thinking. The moment your team stops asking why something is done a certain way and simply does it because it's always been done that way, you have a problem. The tradition is no longer serving you. You are serving the tradition. Innovation is not the opposite of discipline. It is a form of it. The most innovative leaders I've worked with are rigorous. They set high standards. They study their industry deeply, but they hold their methods loosely. They know the goal is the outcome, not the process. There's a question I often ask leaders in coaching sessions. I say, if you were starting this from scratch today, knowing what you now know, would you build it the same way? The answer is almost always no. And that answer tells you everything. Because the gap between how you would build it and how it currently runs is precisely the space where innovation needs to live. So here's the question worth sitting with this week. What in your organization has stopped being questioned? Not because it's working, but because questioning it feels disruptive, or maybe disloyal, or maybe even risky. That is the exact thing that needs a second look. The market will not give you credit for loyalty to your own systems. It will reward you for meeting its needs in the clearest, most compelling way possible. That requires constant examination. Not chaos, examination. Satya Nadella didn't just say something provocative. He described the operating reality of competitive markets. Tradition is not respected because the market doesn't have nostalgia. It has needs, and those needs shift. Your job as a leader is not to protect what worked. Your job is to understand what is needed now, and to build a team and a culture that can get there, even when it means leaving something behind that once made you proud. Innovation is not about being new. It's about being willing.